Duet Night Abyss has officially released, and I want to talk about my first impressions about it. Now, when I first entered the game, I didn't know what the heck was happening. I was still so confused. I was like, where am I supposed to go? Like, everything was so new to me, and that's to be expected with a new game of any kind that you're not familiar with. Like, getting used to the buttons and the graphics and the style of everything was just a new change for me, and that's something that I'm not used to. So obviously, first things first, they give you a little rundown of what actually is happening, and then you get to pick your character, name your character. I know I said I was interested in the male version, but I picked the female because I don't know. And then I went ahead and continued to play throughout the story. Now I have to say the story itself was really interesting. I want to just start off with the positives before I go off the deep end and start talking about other stuff that I didn't quite like about this game. Now, obviously, with the release of this game, there's going to be a lot of bugs and glitches. Like, I'm not expecting this thing to be perfect right off launch. Like, it still has time to improve and grow along the coming years. But I just want to say the music and the story was beautiful. I feel like the way it was written was beautiful. There was some points where it did feel like the characters were talking in circles, or they were just basically elaborating a whole bunch of stuff that didn't need to be elaborated on. But then on certain parts, I was actually really intrigued and interested about the story. And then towards the middle of it, I'm still not completely finished with my playthrough yet, but towards the middle of it, I kind of just started skipping the story because I was just like, yeah, I've heard enough. But for me to get into the story and initially see it, I was actually captivated. Like, the character designs, again, it's something that I'm not used to. Everything is not completely polished yet, but I can get used to it. It's something I can get used to. And then we also had the soundtrack, which again was beautiful. Even the loading screen soundtrack was just as beautiful. It was calming, it was relaxing. There was some moments where I just had to pause and stop because usually I don't have sounds while I'm playing like gacha games or games in general because I just feel like it's very unnecessary. But for this game, I wanted to see what it had to offer, so I put my headphones on and really listened to the background music and the soundtracks. And even just like the overworld song track, it was very calming. It wasn't like all up in your face or anything like that. The character designs are interesting. They have taken some inspiration from a multitude of different games, and I've never played those games before, but I heard that they have taken a lot of inspiration from other games, as one does when you want your game to succeed. I like how we move throughout the terrain with the grappling hook mechanic and the barrel roll in the sky, which is my personal favorite. If for whatever reason you can't jump in the overworld, I was having an issue with that. I just used the barrel roll and just did it that way. Like, I really love that. It was just, I like how there's multiple ways to terrain the land. It really did feel like natural to me to do those things. Now, with all of the goods I can possibly think of out of the way, I do want to talk about some negative things, some critiques, some constructive criticism here. I'm not trying to be a hater or anything. Like I said at the beginning, this game is not beta, but it does feel like it's beta. Like, it does feel like it's not completely finished. And I'm hoping that's not the case. Obviously, there's a couple of things that can be ironed out throughout the months of it being released, but I do feel like it is very undercooked. I do feel as if this game should not have been released in this state because it is a little undercooked. I mean, it's finished to a certain degree. There's certain bits and pieces where I'm just like, yeah, this is definitely the finished product. But there's definitely certain parts that I was just like, were they finished, or is this a work in progress? That's kind of what I was thinking. A great example was during the cutscenes, especially with the NPCs, I was realizing that with their mouth movements, it wasn't exactly matching with what was being said. Now, I'm not saying it needs to match perfectly or anything like that. Obviously, it needs to fit for every single language being spoken, but it did feel like when the NPCs were talking and they stopped talking earlier, their like mouths are still kind of moving or wide open like gaping fishes. I had to laugh because I was just like, wow, okay. And then you had the pre-render cutscene. Now, like I said, I have a pretty buffy computer. Like, this computer is still very much new. Like, it has a lot of space and storage for a lot of different things. And I had the in-game settings pretty high, at least. For me, the FPS was like unlimited or 60. By default, it's 60, but I think I changed it to unlimited. And during the pre pre-rendered cutscenes, there was moments where it would stutter, buff, glitch, and I was just like, you know, a whole chunk of action is happening and I can't even see it because it kind of just was buffering. And I'm not gonna lie, I probably will try to watch it online because I really do feel like there was something happening and it really sucked because my screen was literally frozen. I'm not exactly sure, maybe it's just my computer, but I feel like a lot of people were having the same issue, especially mobile players were complaining about how the game crashes and stuff. And let me just say this, I don't know how some of y'all are playing any gacha games on your phone. Like, those things take up a lot of space, and I know if I tried to play a gacha game on my phone, it would literally blow up. I'm not even joking. But people were already complaining about the mobile version not being able to render properly, a lot of bugs, crashes. So a lot of people were complaining about that. And like I said, I'm on computer and I was having some glitches here and there, nothing too seriously, but I do feel like that's something that needs to be fixed or worked on in the future. And it's the fact that there is no concept of fall damage, but the second we hit water, we just respawn to where we were at. Like, I'm not complaining about it, but in some points it does break the immersion because it's just like we take damage from enemies, but we don't take fall damage. Another thing that I was having a hard time getting by was the traversal. Now, I did say how I liked how we had different ways to traverse the land, but it does feel like when you're trying to climb a wall specifically, there's times where you'll miss or you don't grapple on and you're kind of just like jumping, trying to attach to the wall. And then there's other times where you miss the wall and you fall off, and I was just like, I thought I grappled. Like, I know you have to basically double jump to attach yourself to the wall so you don't automatically just attach, but even when you double jump, sometimes it doesn't latch on, and even when it does latch on, it does feel very clunky. Like, when the characters are moving from X to Y, like thinking about this from a Y axis, when the characters are moving from X to Y, it's very seamless, it's smooth, it's very straight to the point. But when there's like a hill or a little slope or something like that, and you're trying to barrel roll or sprint, jump, whatever, it does feel a little delayed in the sense that it's not very smooth, and it kind of breaks that smoothness when it comes to traversing the land. Like, I know, again, that's something that they can easily fix down the line, and it's a very easy fix, I feel like. I just think that if they imported a little bit more clips to make it more seamless and smooth, so that way you're not just doing a barrel roll down the hill and then all of a sudden they're just like standing upright, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it, but I know I talked about the whole gacha system and basically wanted to see what it's all about. So basically, you do not have to pull for any characters or weapons. You get the characters and weapons for free by basically just playing the game, grinding up your resources, and doing your missions and dailies. You get these secret letters that can then be converted to getting the character that you want, or you can simply just spend money to buy them if you can't wait. But you get all the characters for free, the weapons are for free. But now if you want, like, let's say a special skin for a certain character or their weapon, that's something that you would have to pay for. That's like their monetization way of gaining money from this game, which is basically through cosmetics. So I really like how they completely remove the whole quote-unquote gacha system in the game. The gacha system is still very much similar, except with clothes and cosmetics and stuff like that. But for like the actual characters and weapons, you can easily just grind up doing the story and basically getting all the 5-star characters for completely free. No money needs to be spent on them unless you can't wait, which, hey, it is what it is. You can even make the so-called 5-star weapons for your characters, but obviously that's going to cost a lot of resources. Now, with games like these, they are very grindy games, and if you're a person who loves to grind for materials and stuff like that, I feel like this is the game that will definitely help scratch that itch for you. But if you're someone who doesn't want to spend so much time on the game, I do feel like there is no risk from not spending much time on the game. I feel like with other gacha games that have like limited time things for certain things, I don't think Duet Night Abyss has that. If you miss a day of logging into the game, it's not that big of a deal. You can still grind and collect. There's no cap to grinding and collecting resources for your characters or weapons, so if you miss a day, it's not a big deal. You can easily grind it up next time. You're not really missing out on that, and that completely removes the whole FOMO that I feel like me and a lot of other people feel when it comes to these gacha games, which I really like. I appreciate that. I do feel like the developers of the game are very, very generous. I just feel like a lot of the beginning or early stages of the game, they hand out a lot of freebies for free, which is to be expected, giving you a lot of resources and tools to work with to help build up your future characters or even the current characters that you want to use for battle and stuff like that. Speaking of battle, I really love the option to switch between different weapons. Now, obviously, you have a character who prefers a certain weapon, whether it's a sword, a gun, or anything else. They prefer a specific weapon, but you can basically have them use any weapon you desire without an issue. I specifically love the gun mechanic. I'm not even gonna lie. I was having fun being able to switch between sword and gun. It was just a nice vibe to do. And basically, when I was doing my commissions for the game, there's like different versions where you have to defend a certain thing for a certain amount of time, or you have to defeat a certain amount of enemies, whatever it may be, and how you have your 2 companions or your 3 companions or however many companions that you have. If you're like if you're in co-op with another person or something like that, that person has their own AI character running alongside with them helping, and then you have yours. And then if you're in a mission by yourself, then you get your 2 little companions that help you. With this, it's not like with Wuthering Waves or Honkai Star Rail where you get to rotate between all 3 of your characters throughout the fighting mechanic. You basically pick one character that you use to fight alongside whatever you encounter, and that's the character that you're working with. You don't get to switch between characters when they have their ultimates or something like that. You just use one specific character, and then the other 2 AI characters that you have in the background will basically help fight off enemies as well, which is really cool. It's very different, like I said, not something that I'm used to. I'm used to switching between 3 or 4 characters at once, but with this, that's not the case. I have to say the monsters are pretty unique as well. I don't exactly know what I'm looking at. They look like flying orbs and then humanoid version aliens or something like that. I'm not actually sure. I forgot their names, but each one is very different from one another. They're interesting. They're okay. I mean, they're enemies. They're bosses, you know? And then you have like boss fights and stuff like that. Now, like I said, I'm not too far in with the story just yet, so I'm not completely finished with every single thing. So I can't exactly dive deep into the end game or anything like that because, again, I haven't gotten to that point yet. But when I do get to that point, I'll definitely try to talk about it and try to go into depth about it. But for so far, for its first release, I have to give this like a 7.5 out of 10. I do feel like there's certain aspects for me personally that are really, really good. And then there's other parts that do kind of fall flat or break the immersion for me. So I do have to give it a 7.5. Like, this game has potential to be better. Comparing it to other gacha games like Wuthering Waves and I think Honkai Star Rail, having very rough starts at launch, but grew to being one of the best gacha games out there. So I'm not giving up hope on Duet Night Abyss. Like, it's still very early to say anything concrete as of right now. I do have hope that this game will grow and thrive in the future, and I do still have high expectations for it because I see the potential that this game can have. And with that being said, let me know down below your thoughts and opinions on Duet Night Abyss. Are you playing it? What do you think of it? Are you going to play it? Things like that. And yeah, I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye bye.